Now we'll call up to stage Chen Amit. Chen is a serial entrepreneur and a technologist. He had founded Tipalti 6 years ago. The company is now to $3 billion in annual payment transactions, 1.5 million suppliers, hundreds of customers, a few that are mentioned up there on those boards there. And Chen will talk about the role of technology and automation in everything we've talked about today. Thank you.
First, thank you, Nathan and Chris, for great presentations and discussions about the role of CFO and the future of the financial systems. That was a great lead for my. Before I will share with you what we wanted to introduce to you today, which is several innovations that Tipalti will launch today. I want to tell you a few words about Tipalti and myself. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Tipalti. We started Tipalti about 6 years ago. No, I think it's. From the get-go, from day one, we were focused on automating payment operations for our customers. Our customers were challenged with the complexities of managing payment operations, from onboarding suppliers, vetting them, AML KYC, capturing tax information, ensuring tax compliance, ensuring global payment compliance, anti-money laundering, payment methods, reconciliation, a host of challenges that our customers were facing. And solving for that problem was our strategy to begin with. Today, 6.5 years later, we're proud to have customers like Twitter, GoPro, GoDaddy, Amazon, Google, to name a few, as our customers. And most proud that we have near perfect retention. Our customers rave about us, and some of them are here in the room. And I was happy to hear some of the discussions about the successes of our customers. And on that note, I'll move on to discuss, to introduce to you some of the capabilities that we wanted to introduce to you today. In the presentations that we heard before, we heard about the changing role of the CFO and the need for the CFO to play a more strategic function, being it that they are involved in companies that are high growth companies, involved in M&As, expanding globally, building more products, expanding the product coverage, the geographical coverage. The need to contribute to that discussion is ever more present, even in smaller companies. Today, even the smallest companies have some global consumption of business and products, services and products. Even Tipalti, when we were, I think, 10 people company, we already had subsidiaries around the world. And the need to address and to contribute these challenges really needs to be the focus of the CFO. However, as part of the role of the CFO, there are additional functions that they care about, AP being one of them, and managing suppliers, onboarding suppliers, ensuring compliance, ensuring governance, capturing tax information, capturing invoices are all really important functions, but they're largely cumbersome, manual, labor-intensive, mundane parts of their work, of your work. And if we could only automate that, right? If we could only automate that, we will ensure that your organizations are more compliant and have better controls, better governance, are more scalable, but will also allow you to focus your attention on the real strategic topics that you need to focus on, to allow to contribute and have the attention to focus on the M&As and the growth and the expansion, the product expansion, and the increased sophistication of your organizations. The opportunity to do that comes through automation, as was mentioned before. The opportunity to, if there's any place that really cries for automation, is payment operations. Being so manual, being so labor intensive, being so cumbersome and risk frothy and detailed, it really is a place that automation is a perfect fit, and whether it is because of lack of resources going into the accounts payable part of the organization, or because we needed some more advancements in cloud computing and others, that just in the last few years we are able to really automate these functions end to end. And that's what Tipalti does. Tipalti, by marrying to the cloud treasury solutions, reconciliation solutions, invoice capture solutions, regulatory capability solutions, and integrating them into one consistent, coherent, organic, end-to-end solution. By doing all of that, we allow companies like yours to consume sophisticated services in an automated end-to-end platform that allows you to do all of those, to answer all of those challenges, starting with supplier onboarding, supplier vetting, tax information capture, validation, withholding, reporting, currency management for you, currency management for the supplier, support for payment methods, payment regulation, compliance with global payment regulations, invoice capture, approval workflows, supply chain finance, reconciliation. It's really a daunting task that AP has in front of you, and AP is the #1 most time-consuming function in finance. By automating it end-to-end, we allow our customers, those of our customers that are here know that, we allow our customers to save 80% of the labor that is dedicated to these functions, to be in perfect compliance, better controls, better governance, and to be a more scalable, efficient, better controlled organization. Today we will be announcing two new innovations. The first one is multi-entity. As I mentioned, when we were a 10-person company, we already were a multi-entity company. We had a mother company and a subsidiary, and many companies today, even from early stages, have subsidiaries, have global workforce, have multiple locations, and then in later stages they are engaged in M&A and grow their organizational structure and complexity of their organizational structure as they grow. Managing everything I mentioned before across a global organization, across a multi-entity organization, ensuring that all parts of the organization really have the level of controls that you, the CFO, require in terms of compliance, in terms of governance, in terms of reconciliation, in terms of managing your suppliers, communicating with them, ensuring that you captured all the information, that you validated it, ensuring that consistent framework is a challenge. And by allowing Tipalti to now be a multi-entity solution that from both the central location, but also from the distributed parts of the organization, you have the same controls, the same workflows, the same level of insight and payment workflows and communication with suppliers and supplier control. From ensuring that is what we are introducing today. Multi-entity is not a feature; it's really an underlying theme around across Tipalti. So everything Tipalti is multi-entity. Supplier onboarding is done in a multi-entity perspective, so you know which part of the organization is onboarding the supplier, and you can share suppliers across the organization. Tax compliance is done in the US. We'll do W-9s for cross-border suppliers. We'll do W-8s. If you're in Europe, we'll capture the right VAT information and validate it. If you are in Canada, we'll capture the right tax information. And again, within the same framework, within the same workflows, we will handle each supplier, each workflow according to their jurisdiction. Invoice processing, you'll see in the demo, we will attach the invoice to the right legal entity so that when the payment workflows are executed, the right payments is associated with the right legal entity, and so on and so forth. To demonstrate some of that, I'll ask Ali to join me on stage and show you a little bit how that looks in real life.
Hi, everybody. Is my mic working? Sounds like it. So, when I present to Palti, I think about the wheel that Chen has presented, and two things come to my mind. Really, the experience of suppliers, what they go through in a payment cycle, and the experience of a finance team. And that's how I'm going to present multi-entity as part of Palti's end-to-end functionality. I'll start with what do we do from a supplier management perspective to get data and to reduce tax risk and regulatory risk. And then I'll talk about what we do for our customers, our payers in the system, to manage some of the more complex financial controls. Give me 1 second, please. So the first thing I'll be showing you is our Supplier Portal. And the Supplier Portal is, The Supplier Portal is a place where your publishers, your freelancers, your vendors, your suppliers, they can go and have a quick online experience to enter in payment information and get their tax data vetted. And this can work across all of your subsidiaries. So what we do is we capture this in a self-service manner. So if you think about paying someone in the UK, for example, the information that's needed from a certain type of payment method is now automated through capture into Palti, and it's vetted through a rules engine. So what we provide is flexibility to both our customers and our customer suppliers. What are the ways that you want to pay in a global organization? Are you looking to move off of check and move to a more electronic mechanism? Those are things that you can facilitate through our system. What are the payment methods that your suppliers are asking for? Based off of those two things, you can configure the system and offer methods that are relevant for both of you. Each one of these methods have rules built in to vet the data that is required. And these do change from country to country. The fields that are needed to execute a payment in a timely manner without error, these do change very often. So Palti makes sure that regardless which locale you're paying, from which subsidiary you're paying, that we manage the rules and keep them up to date so you reduce the chance of payment error. We've seen some companies go from double-digit payment error rates to single-digit to negligible using our software. So across all of your subsidiaries, you can choose what payment methods that you want to offer. A lot of our customers also pass on costs to their suppliers, so there's a number of ways that you can manage that in our system. The next thing I would like to show you is our tax form collection. So in the course of the conversation today, you've heard a couple of speakers talk about different ways to look at risk. And tax risk we see as a fairly significant one, whether you're a US company or a company with subsidiaries outside. And what we've done in the spirit of self-service is offer the tool sets so that your suppliers can go through this difficult process in a seamless, easy way. So the first thing we introduce over here is a tax form questionnaire. And this guides your suppliers, whether they're bigger companies or individuals that are working on your website to publish content, to the right piece of tax forms to begin with. And I have an example here in the US, but what we do is we tell on your behalf, we're not authorized to give tax advice. But based off of what you're indicating, this is the right form for you. This is available in multiple languages as well, so if you have non-English speakers, you've shifted the paradigm from your finance team having the field service calls with your suppliers to guide them down this, and you've made that self-service. And the quality of these forms themselves are fully digital and have been, we've work with KPMG, in fact, to make sure that this is something that's IRS ready and ready for you to consume. So if you look at a W-9, for example, here, this is a digital form. It's not a repository. That's what I often see in the industry with how people manage AP today. We completely capture this online, and the fields that are required for each form, W-9 or W-8, is being validated. TIN number, for example, is also being validated to make sure that you're not at the risk of backup withholding. Come audit season, you're not scrambling to get these forms and get the right documentation in place. So I showed this example for the US and the things that we do to make sure that you are essentially audit-proof from a tax perspective. Now expand that across your subsidiaries. Think about UK, think about Brazil, the different IDs that are needed over there, the different VAT numbers that you gather. This can all be part of an onboarding experience where Tipalti vets this for you. So it's an important part of our platform. The other thing I'll also show you is that a lot of our customers use what we call our iframe. So everything that you've seen so far in terms of the supplier experience, this can be completely white labeled. So as far as your suppliers are concerned, there is no Tipalti. This is a service you're offering them. And a lot of our customers will then take those 3 steps that we have gathered, and they'll seamlessly integrate it to our website. So Tapjoy, for example, has a single sign-on for the suppliers where they go and enter in address, payment information, and tax forms. And you could have an experience that's specific for your brand in each one of your subsidiaries. So if you have a company that is growing by acquisition and you want to have a branded portal for each one of the suppliers you pay over there, that's something that you can do through Tipalti seamlessly. So the next thing I'll show you is the payer experience. As a finance user in Tipalti, what are some of the things that you can accomplish? And to that extent, we've revamped our experience for finance users and developed an AP hub. And this is a nerve center for managing your payment operations, for manage invoice collection, and even reporting for your overall AP operations. And what I'll do is I'm going to start with Invoice Capture. Invoice Capture, regardless of which subsidiary you're working with, we have tools so that if someone emails you something, we can capture that. And we can use optical character recognition to get the fields automatically coded in. So if you get an invoice from your supplier and there's a number of fields, your description, rate, total, invoice due date, these are things that we're going to capture through OCR from the get-go. But what we've also done is that we've realized that companies will slice and dice their reporting in a number of ways. They need to be able to capture department. They may need to capture class, location, any number of things. And our machine learning picks up where OCR drops off. So now when you look at invoice capture, you truly have a touchless experience. So if you're coding in a subsidiary, if you're trying to develop rules on which GL account has a certain approval structure that's tied to it, these are things that Tipalti is in a position to be able to do for you. So for global companies, this is, I think, a very strategic way to reduce the amount of time it takes for processing something that would otherwise be very routine and very mundane for your team. We couple this with other functionality which gives you a single place to manage your AP operations. And one thing I like to show over here is a drill into a payee themselves. So we've taken all of the information that we've gathered as part of onboarding, all of the information that we have from an invoicing perspective, and what I'll also show you from a payment perspective, and we can centralize that in one place. So if you look at a certain payee, you know whether or not they're payable. In this case, someone is not payable because tax forms aren't provided. But you more so have a single place where you're looking at all of the data for a certain person in your business that you're looking to pay. From a payment standpoint itself, Tipalti is a licensed money transmitter. We have the ability to pay in 190 countries and 120 different currencies across multiple payment methods. And in managing a global company, we also understand that with each one of the subsidiaries that you're working with, there's a way to be able to manage that, report off of it, and reconcile on it too. So in my demo account, I have different currency-denominated accounts for HQ, for EMEA, and for any other subsidiary that you're looking to set up. Each one of the payments itself gives you far more detail than you would expect from just a simple banking interface. First of all, know that regardless of how you're paying, be it check, ACH, wire transfer, you now have one place where you can manage those operations. You're not going to different portals and submitting instructions. It's become far, far easier. We also have controls built in from a fraud perspective. So if you're paying someone that's potentially in an OFAC hit, an OFAC list or in a sanction list, we have the ability to screen for that and provide compliance as a service to make sure that you're okay from a regulatory perspective, that you're reducing and managing that risk. And finally, you have controls over here from an approval standpoint. So if your CFO wants to log in and quickly look at a payment run and say this is okay to go, they have the ability to do that through one click. It all then comes down to what is the total tool set you have for looking at your information in one place. So if you think about the reporting that we have, really the power in it isn't the type of reports that we're producing. It's the information behind it. Because we know when someone has onboarded successfully, we know if there's risk tied to them from a tax perspective or a regulatory perspective, because we know where they're at from an invoicing standpoint, from a payment standpoint, when payment has cleared. The quality of this information stitched together becomes something that's very good for your finance team. It's something that they can use to really make the time to close their books faster and repurpose their time to other revenue generating activities. So with multi-entity, the paradigm just becomes more complex. And we've built our infrastructure to be able to handle that. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Chen, and we'll talk about our next product announcement.
Thank you, Ali. Great. The next product announcement that I'm really excited to make is early payments. Early payments is really Tipalti's introduction of an ability for the AP department to become a revenue generator for the organization while strengthening your relationships with your suppliers. When you work with your suppliers, you are probably paying some of them net 15, some of them net 30, net 60, net 90, whatever the case may be. But I'm sure that your suppliers would rather get paid early if they only could. Tipalti now offers the ability for the supplier through, again, the streamlined process that we have for the supplier to choose to get paid earlier without having any impact on your workflows or on your financials. Through the normal course of the Tipalti interaction, where we communicate with the suppliers on your behalf and telling the suppliers that they have a payment due on July 15, we now add to that messaging the option for the supplier to say, yes, I want to get paid tomorrow or today. And they click a button, and with the click of a button, they see an offer. And if the offer matches what they expect, they accept it. And from that point on, Tipalti, through partners that provide the capital for these transactions, are able to make the payment to the payee, to the suppliers, again, with no implication to you financially, other than a positive implication that you will get a revenue share from that transaction. The supplier gets paid immediately, and through the normal run that you already work with Tipalti, on July 15, when you scheduled your payment, that payment will be rerouted correctly back to the party that provided the capital for the transaction. So with no implication to your workflows, the same workflows that you do with Tipalti, regardless, you can now offer early payments to your suppliers. From the supplier perspective, it's again seamless. They are used to receiving those notifications that tell them when the payments are due and what to expect in terms of the payment that is coming their way. They now see an additional notification that tells them that they can get paid early, and it's really a win-win-win, where the suppliers, obviously, if they chose to get early payment, they chose it because it was meaningful for them. You, as the buyer, are strengthening your value to your suppliers and the relationships with the suppliers by enabling them to get paid early. And obviously, there will be an economical gain that I will touch upon in a minute. The third gain that there is, which is really important when we spoke with our customers before we started developing the product, is an operational one. Many of our customers wanted to offer early payments to their suppliers, usually in the way that the supplier comes with their own financial partner that offers to buy the receivables and finance the receivables from their side. But the complexity for an organization to work with each supplier and their partner and deal with the legal implications of that, that is an operational nightmare that, again, through the streamlined solution that we provide, it's literally a flip of a switch, and you can enable early payments for your suppliers, a new revenue source for you, and being a better partner for your suppliers. We'll show a demo of how the experience is, how seamless the experience is, and then I'll touch on the financial benefits of using early payments.
Sure. I think one of the first things that is important to know with early payments is that, as Chen mentioned, this is an extension of everything that's already happening in the platform. Onboarding, proactive communication, and payments and reconciliation. So the things that I'd like to kind of explain with early payments is the first step is you choose who is eligible for early payments. It could be everybody. It could be a certain subset. That is a flip of a switch, as Chen said, and literally then you'll have a set of payees that are eligible for an early payment option. What that looks like, if I am a supplier, if I'm a vendor, I already have a proactive email communication that's being white labeled by Tipalti for you. And in this case, I have an offer that was sent to me that would be coming from you with your logo, with your verbiage to say, dear supplier, this is what we were going to pay you. You're eligible for an early payment offer. Click this button, and then you can take advantage of it. If they click that, they come to a screen like this. Once again, this could be your iframe that you put directly into your website or a portal hosted through us. And it will say what you will get if you want to get paid today. So if, in this case, you're accepting payment 24 days before the maturity date of an invoice, there is a certain fee that you would have to pay as participating in this program. And through a click of the button, you can then get this cash right away. And this is something that you can have a 30-day cycle, you can have a 60-day cycle, you can have a 90-day cycle, whatever it is. We will be able to manage early payments through submitting that offer via email and a supplier going through a few steps to accept and get paid immediately. So in fact, from an early payments perspective, that's all I have to demo for you. It is just showing you how easy it is for a supplier to see an option and click a button to get paid. I'll pass it back to Chen for the next piece.
And when we planned the event, we sensed that there's a kind of the demo of early payments, which is a real meaningful launch for us, is fairly short, but that's really the crux of the matter. It really is as easy as just receiving an email, clicking a button, and accepting the terms. So while it's a short demo, it's a really important capability that we feel strongly will be really important for our customers, our suppliers, and will be a major contributor for you. In terms of contribution to you, we put up on the screen here a scenario of a company that spends $20 million a month that enjoys a 15% supplier adoption rate. When we launched early payments not long ago, we experienced 40% adoption rate by suppliers. It's extremely high. It's still in the early stages, but it's an indication of how easy to consume early payments, and we strongly expect that the adoption rate will be high. The example here looks at 15% penetration or adoption, but we can easily see how it's much higher, maybe in the 30s or 40s. But even at 15% adoption rate, you can generate revenue. Your AP department can generate $750,000 across this time period. If it will be 30 or 40%, it will be in the millions. And again, all it requires from you is a flip of a switch. You don't need to provide the capital. It's completely streamlined within your payment workflow, and those gains can be yours through enabling of early payments to your suppliers. And again, the suppliers benefit because they get the funding early. A small anecdote that we again experienced in the last in that launch was suppliers that opt for early payments days before the due date of the payment. So we had suppliers that were due a payment and selected to receive early payments 4 days before the payment was due. For me, the message is, it's easy, it's available, I need it tomorrow, I click a button, I get the funding. That's how easy it is, and we feel strongly that even for the short payment terms, even if you pay net 15 to your suppliers, I think we'll see great adoption even with that supplier base. That concludes the announcements of the 2 capabilities that we had, and I think that we will switch to Q&A.
So we have some time for questions, so please shoot away.
Question in the front.
Yeah.
I'm pretty loud. Are you guys integrated with NetSuite or other platforms?
Definitely. We're integrated with NetSuite. We have customers that are Oracle houses that integrate Tipalti, and we are launching 5 or 6 additional integrations in the rest of the year. Amazon uses the NetSuite integration. We have a bunch of customers that are using the NetSuite integration. GoPro, I think, mentioned that they saw great benefit from the NetSuite integration, so yeah.
Twitter integrates with Oracle and such.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any other questions before? Oh, one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, a couple of questions.
No, of course, go ahead.
So for you show the W-9 form, right?
Yeah.
Have you just signed the form on your platform, or do I have to port it out to like Verify on some other places?
I can take that one.
Sure.
So the signature can be done directly in the platform. As long as it's a vendor that's doing the signature, that'll be captured and the form will be securely stored in Tipalti for your finance team to get to.
Question on the supplier onboarding part. So onboarding is one piece, and then there's a maintenance part where you have to continuously do the checks, OFAC or DNB, and also like social media checks where now you're pretty much guilty by association. So you want to be careful about who you do business with. Is on the product roadmap, is that anywhere along the lines? Because I know that's really important for us.
Sure. So OFAC is done regularly, both in the onboarding of suppliers. So there's the option to do it in the onboarding phase of suppliers. There's the option to do it at the checkpoints, but it's done definitely before every payment. And it's done in real time and with fresh data all the time. So OFAC is covered. In terms of...
Yeah, and to answer your question later on, so we've taken a risk-based approach to taking the iteration and refreshing the data and running it through several checks, right? So we do that, if there is a pay that we consider high risk, we might actually do quarterly refresh on our KYC and OFAC and compliance. And in some cases, we might do semi-annual, we might do annual. It's completely risk policy based. And now we're extending that check where as a part of our KYC and compliance, we're extending it to some of the other items like social media or like AAA ratings or anything else that you might consider. So we have the ability to be able to run those.
Any last questions? All right, well, we still have time for you guys to grab drinks, food, network, enjoy the room. There are demo pods, so if you're interested in a one-on-one demo, we've got 2 pods there. They can go and get a demo. And then finally, before you leave, we have gift bags for all of you. Thank you for coming. Please make sure you take them. There's a nice Swell bottle in there. There's also a survey. So we plan to do more of these with the community, and we want to get your feedback. So please do fill out the survey if you can. Thank you guys for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it.